But I think what Joel pulled off was something very unique and artistic and really beautiful. And you got to strap yourself in when you go to see this movie because it is Shakespearean dialogue, and you better pay attention as soon as Denzel starts speaking. Get your eyes going and start listening.
Listen, because you won't know what he's talking about if you aren't paying attention.
But if you pay attention, you can get what's going on.
Yeah, it's really sensational. I really loved it. It could be my favorite movie of the year. Hello, movie friends. Welcome back to the show. This is Anthony.
And this is James here. We're going to talk about the best movies from 2021. And we're not including movies that were up for the award seasons last year. So movies like Judas and the Black Messiah, they won't be on this list because, you know, they were at the Oscars in February 2021. So we're counting movies basically that premiered after the Oscar season, award season.
Yeah, for that particular year, they extended the Oscar qualifications by a month and a half to allow more films to get nominated because hardly any films were released throughout the middle of the entire year. So it was an extension that had never happened before.
Yeah, usually it's the end of the year. By December 31st, your movie has to play in Los Angeles for a week in order to qualify for the Oscars. And so they ran it up to February 28th, 2021. Those movies were eligible for Oscars, but, you know, since it's going on after that, that's what we're going to talk about today, films after the Oscars.
And I think we had a really terrific year of movies. After obviously 2020, we had so few films come out that year, but this year was just really stacked with a lot of good films. Big studio pictures are in here, but also, you know, I've seen people in comments saying like this was a trash year for movies. I'm like, no, there were a ton of really good ones.
Really good bounce back.
Great independent films came out this year, and there's going to be even more next year. And I think it was a great rebound from 2020.
Yeah, we had one of the biggest movies of all time come out in 2021 with Spider-Man: No Way Home. So and in terms of it being a trash year, you could probably say less movies came out than usual on average. And yes, the box office, I think it was about 60% of what 2019 was. So box office was down, of course. But in terms of bouncing back from 2020, I think we had an excellent year. The 2022 is going to be an absurd year of movies. And so we already did an episode on our most anticipated films. We had 44 movies on that list, which is crazy.
Yeah, and also keep in mind, I don't think the country's theaters were completely all the way open until like even the spring of this year.
Yeah, it was like spring, halfway through the year. Yeah, June.
Yeah, there were still plenty of theaters in our state in California that weren't open. So it wasn't until I think summertime where every cinema was open again. So obviously less movies came out this year, but I think it was still a great lineup this year.
Yeah, man, there were some really, really good movies this year. Some very decent movies as well, but, you know, we're going to talk about a ton of them. And before we continue, the best way to support Raiders of the Lost Podcast is to become a patron at patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost Podcast, where you get perks like our podcast schedule, personalized videos, Patreon shoutouts on the show for top-tier patrons and Godfather tier patrons, as well as weekly bonus episodes every week. Godfather tier, you also get an extra bonus episode and stickers. We also just launched our Podcast Masterclass online course for anyone who wants to start a podcast or wants to improve their current podcast. Our 22-chapter 46 video lesson course will give you all the secrets behind the scenes of our show to find the success that we had. The link is podcastmasterclass.teachable.com. Let me say that again, podcastmasterclass.teachable.com, or just go to our website, raidersoflostpodcast.com. It's right there on the homepage. Thank you so much for tuning in around the world. Now let's get back into the best movies of 2021. In this list, it isn't exactly in order of like our favorites. I think we put our favorite, well, my favorite's the first one we're going to talk about personally, and you already know what I'm
we
know
what it is. We already know what it is.
Dune. Best movie of the year, hands down. We saw it twice in theaters. One of the times we got to see it in IMAX, which was such an incredible experience. This book is incredible. Frank Herbert made this incredibly rich and complex world and story. He made 6 books himself, and so this is the second time. The first book has been adapted into a film. The first time was David Lynch in 1984. Children of Dune has been adapted into a TV series. But, you know, I think a few other projects in terms of directors wanted to redo this, fell through over the years. But Denis Villeneuve, such an incredible director, such a great world builder we saw with Blade Runner 2049, who could possibly make a sequel to Blade Runner, let alone a sequel that is just as good as the original. But Denis pulled it off. And this movie is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, this movie stars Timothy Chalamet, Oscar Isaac, Rebecca Ferguson, Zendaya, and a ton of other fantastic actors. It's the best production of the year. Groundbreaking visual effects and practical effects. Really astounding cinematography and just the production design is just really fabulous, the costume design, and it was just so well done. All the characters were fantastic. It's so well crafted, so well written. I thought it was just a standout for this year as one of the best movies of the last few years as well.
Yeah, we've actually talked about it twice in the show. The first time we talked about Dune was in Everything We Know About Dune episode. That was in the summertime, right, of 2020.
That's correct.
And then the movie came out in October, and we actually did a spoiler-free review of it right after the release. So that was like a great 30-minute episode. But we're planning on doing an in-depth, like 2-3 hour episode on Dune, full analysis, spoilers the entire time. Probably next month. We're gonna wait a couple of weeks going into the new year.
We got to put a lot of work into it.
It's gonna be intense.
It's gonna be heavy.
Because there's so much to talk about with this film. Not just the folklore of the book and everything that happens in the story and the characters and the world, but also just the production elements. Because it was an astounding achievement in filmmaking by Denis and his team and his concept artists, production designers, and we can't wait for Dune Part 2, which is going to start filming next year.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this year, I'm sorry. It's
later
filming
this year. It's 2022
and
now.
Dune Part 2 will be coming out, the second part of the book coming out next year.
And like we said earlier, this list of movies isn't in a particular order, but James and I are going to do our own awards season episode in February to coincide with the Oscars. So
we'll do our own Oscars.
Then you'll know what our favorite movie, what our best director, best cinematographer, best composer. We're going to do an entire awards list. So stay tuned for that for February.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
And next up on this list is Spider-Man No Way Home. We have to throw this one in here. It was a really terrific Marvel film. It's one of their best. I think it's top 5 Marvel for sure. Tom Holland did a great job leading this cast, and we've already spoiled the movie, so we're going to spoil it again.
I think as everyone's seen it, it's made over $1 billion.
We all know that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were in it as well, and just seeing the 3 Spider-Men on screen together was so much fun and so incredible of an experience, and just really just a great time at the film theater.
Great time
at the cinema.
At the films. We went and saw a talkie the other day.
We went to the films.
They speak now. Yeah, Spider-Man was a great time at the films, and I want to go see it this week before it leaves theaters because we got to check
it leaving theaters.
Yeah, I mean eventually.
Oh, okay.
But we got to see it again in IMAX just for the experience because we'll never get that thrill of having the 3 Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, and Tom Holland on screen together sharing scenes. I thought it was an incredible achievement. Obviously, I was kind of skeptical how they were going to do the multiverse and how it would play out, but I think they pulled it off like so well, and I can't wait to see what's going on with the future of the MCU with Doctor Strange coming out next. But, John Watts, he's the only director to make an actual trilogy of doing all 3 Spider-Man movies. Mark Webb only did 2, and Sam Raimi, he did 3, I'm sorry. I meant MCU movies.
MCU, yeah.
Sorry, because Sam Raimi did 3.
Yeah,
right, Spider-Man 3.
It's okay, you've corrected yourself.
Sorry, a tough night. But yeah, Spider-Man No Way Home, it's such a fun time getting the old villains, getting the No Way Home villains and Spider-Man mixing their universes together, and obviously you all saw it. It's incredible.
It's a great time at the films.
It's a great time at the films. Is that going to be a new line?
It better be.
Next up on our list from 2021 is Licorice Pizza. This is Paul Thomas Anderson's latest film starring Alana Haim, Cooper Hoffman, who is Philip Seymour Hoffman's son, Benny Safdie, and Bradley Cooper. This movie was exceptional. Top 3 for me in the entire year for sure. We had an incredible experience seeing this because we went to Westwood in Los Angeles to see it at the Westwood Village Theater, where they projected it in 70 millimeter film. So it was just an incredible experience going to the films.
And it's a big cinema too.
Yeah,
it seats over 300 people. It's just expansive. It's a gigantic cinema.
Maybe 500. That's
it could
huge.
Because there's an upper level.
There's balcony.
It's definitely it could be 500, and it's just this gigantic room, and the screen is
like
huge.
most movie theaters.
Yeah. No, some of them are small.
I'm kidding.
It's gigantic. It's bigger than IMAX.
Beautiful ceiling.
Yeah, and it's just a fantastic theater. We had a great time. This movie is so funny. It's PTA's funniest movie, I think. And also, it's like
really, yeah,
I think so. And then it's a great coming of age film. It's harkens back to the 70s in LA. Feels like the same vibe and tone as Boogie Nights and even Once Upon a Time in Hollywood by Tarantino. It feels like the kinship, like brotherhood with those movies as well.
I wonder if Tarantino and Paul Thomas Anderson were like, hey, let's make our own 70s Hollywood homage film because they're very good friends and both of them, that's the latest movie.
That's where they grew up.
So that's probably maybe where they both got inspired by each other to make a story around they're paying homage to Los Angeles and how they grew up and everything.
Yeah, because PTA did it first with Boogie Nights, but he didn't have the production to really transform too many places. Like there's a few sets there, but in Licorice Pizza, there were a lot more sets that had the 70s feeling to it, whereas Tarantino had $100 million to literally change Hollywood Boulevard, which is really cool.
Yeah, Paul Thomas Anderson, he's one of the best directors alive. He's in his prime right now. Everything the guy makes is exceptional, in my opinion. He has never made a bad movie. I don't think he ever will. And we're just huge fans of his. And Alana was incredible in this movie. I think it's the first movie she's ever been in, right? And then Cooper Hoffman was really great as Philip Seymour Hoffman's son. I think it's also his first acting credit for a film as well. And Safdie was great. Bradley Cooper was really good. He has a small role. Sean Penn's in there too, so the cast is really great as well.
Yeah, we had a terrific time with this film. You definitely got to check it out.
At the films.
Next up, we have the new James Bond entry, No Time to Die, which was Daniel Craig's final outing as 007. This film starred Daniel Craig and Léa Seydoux, Rami Malek, and Ana de Armas, directed by the great Cary Fukunaga. And this film just blew me away. I've always said Skyfall is my favorite Bond film, but I think that No Time to Die might take the cake. I have to see it for a second time, but I was really stunned by this. It was so emotionally impactful, excellent action, great acting by everyone in the cast, and just terrific production.
Yeah, I agree. Like, Skyfall to me is a masterpiece in filmmaking. That's one of the best. It's the best James Bond movie probably ever made, but No Time to Die might be my favorite because it incorporates just a great film, but also all the great elements of a Bond movie that weren't in Skyfall, which is what made Skyfall so great, was the minimalistic effect of it in terms of it not feeling like a James Bond movie, but then No Time to Die was the ultimate James Bond movie.
Yeah, I agree, because it had all the tributes and all the characteristics of a typical Bond film, whereas Skyfall, its whole point was to stray away from it.
Yeah, and it's about rebirth, and then No Time to Die is just amp it up, turn the amp all the way
super
full.
Bondy.
It was such a great time.
Yeah,
gonna miss Danny Craig, but he's already killing it with Knives Out 2 and 3, $50 million per movie.
Yeah, that bank account.
Rachel Weisz is like, good job, hun.
She makes plenty of cheddar.
Yeah, but
she
still,
makes plenty.
Pulling in 100 mil.
100 mil for a year and a half.
Year and a half of work. It's crazy money. It's like a baseball player.
He's probably made 150 mil from Bond.
Probably
from
something
6
like that.
films.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be a multimillionaire big time if you're James Bond.
Big time.
Honestly, I can't wait to find out who the next Bond will be because, it was a great ending to
Henry Cavill
or Tom Hardy, or we'll find out.
We will see.
Next up, we have King Richard. This was directed by Reynaldo Marcus Grin, stars Will Smith, Joe Bernthal, Demi Singleton, and Sania Sidney. And this was Will Smith's return to great dramatic film acting. We hadn't seen him do something really great in a while in terms of him pulling out his acting chops. He seemed to have taken a break from acting, it looked like, for a year and a half, especially with COVID going on.
Building his YouTube channel.
Yeah, for real. He's the biggest entertainer in the world still. He's he got
TikTok, YouTube, whatever.
6 million subscribers on YouTube in a week. He's like, yeah, whatever. I'm jumping out of planes and stuff. And Will Smith, I'm the man, so I'm going to do whatever I want. But King Richard was an incredible performance, great story, obviously, about Serena and Venus Williams.
This is a great sports film. It blew me away. It was really, really emotionally resonant. Really terrific performances from the young actresses. They did a fantastic job portraying their larger-than-life characters. John Bernthal was really funny. He had never done a character like this before. It was nice to see him do a kind of a character performance rather than his typical tough guy.
Tough guy, jerk, funny guy.
He's like a goofy, silly guy in this film. It was so refreshing to see. But Will Smith just knocked it out of the park. I would not be surprised if he won Oscar for Best Actor
in this movie.
Yeah,
and it might be the best sports movie since Moneyball.
It could be, yeah, definitely. I can't
Moneyball
think
was
of
great.
anything.
That was 2011, right?
Yeah, 2011, and then Ben Affleck had a good basketball one 2 years ago. But it wasn't the caliber of film this one is.
Yeah.
So it's definitely up there for sports films. Next up, we have Coda, which is a really terrific film that we got the chance to see at the Sundance Film Festival last year. It has been it was purchased by Apple, so you can watch this on Apple. And the film's about this young girl who is a aspiring singer, and she's the only hearing member of a deaf family from Gloucester, Massachusetts. Gloucester kid,
let's go.
And so she has this desire to be a singer and to go to music school and to study music, but unfortunately, she's a bit restricted because her family relies on her in terms of helping communicate for their small business, being the main facilitator for communicating with other people. And so they're kind of dependent on her, and she's trapped between these two choices of staying with her family who need her or moving on with her life and going to music school and challenging and getting out of Gloucester.
Yeah.
And so it's a really beautiful coming-of-age film about family. about the choices we make, and about aspiring for something greater than what you have at the moment.
It's really emotional. It has a ton of beautiful music in this film. I was blown away by the performance of Amelia Jones. Eugenio Derbez is super funny in this movie. Great performance as the music teacher who is her sort of mentor and pushing her in the direction of music. And the ironic thing about her situation is, yes, she has to be a translator basically for her family's fishing business. But at the same time, because her family is deaf, they don't understand the talent that she has and how singing makes her feel, because they can't experience her singing and hearing what it sounds like to understand why she wants to pursue that and how much it means to her. So it's really a big, beautiful story about both parties coming together and trying to understand what the other one wants and needs to move forward.
We were crying like babies.
I cried like maybe 5 times during this movie.
It's very emotional.
Really beautiful film. I wish more people saw it. If Apple TV didn't buy it, I wish it had a theatrical release. I think it would have done a lot better.
That's what I'm saying. I'm telling you, if that got a theatrical run, it would have become a sensation, because if movies like, Slumdog Millionaire, they became huge word-of-mouth successes from a small theatrical run, getting word of mouth, and then expands into a gigantic success when they can go to more and more theaters. That would have happened with Coda, but since it was an Apple release, nobody really knows about it except for people who have Apple, and it's not like everyone who has Apple watched it.
Yeah,
I think the numbers on the streaming weren't that high, which is too bad, because it's definitely one of the best films of the year. And I think
top 10 easy.
If it did get a theatrical release, I guarantee you it would have made close to $100 million. I think it would have had the same exact success as Parasite 2 years ago.
Maybe, possible.
So, I mean, in time, I think it will get enough views, but I mean, you need Apple TV to see it.
Yeah. Next up, we have Belfast. This was directed by Kenneth Branagh, a.k.a. Gilderoy Lockhart. Stars Jamie Dornan, Catriona Balfe, and Judi Dench. It's a semi-autobiographical film chronicling the life of a working-class family and their young son's childhood during the tumult of the late 1960s in Northern Ireland capital, and it is a beautiful film.
This is a really terrific movie. When I saw the trailer, I was like, oh man, this looks so good. Mm-hmm. And then I saw it in theaters, and I was just blown away by what Kenneth Branagh did. It was a great rebound from Artemis Fowl, which was horribly received the year before. I think he actually made a deal to make this. He had to do Artemis Fowl. And he's coming out with a new film this year, Death on the Nile. He's a great director and an excellent actor, and I was just stunned by this movie. It's so great. It's about such a difficult time in Ireland. And this film it feels like a series of memories for one person, and it was so well done, so well acted. The cinematography is really terrific, and great music, really terrific music, and I just was floored by this film. Next up, we have The Last Duel, which stars Matt Damon, Jodie Comer, Ben Affleck, and Adam Driver, directed by the great Ridley Scott. The film is about Jean de Carouge, who is a respected knight known for his bravery on the battlefield, and his rival Legris, who is a squire. They become rivals for several years, battling over land and rumors and gossip and stuff and various things. And then eventually Carouge's wife steps forward, accusing Legris, the rival, of rape, which causes a trial and then a legal battle to decide who the truthful party is. It's a terrific film.
Really great. I think Jodie Comer gave the best performance of the entire year in film in general of any actor and actress. I hope she gets nominated, and hopefully she wins Best Actress, because it is so deserved. And this is a movie I think a lot of people really should watch. It's really important because it tells the story in 3 different ways. It's really great. We're seeing the same story from the perspective of Jean de Carouge, then Jacques Legris, and then from Jodie Comer's character, the wife of Marguerite de Carouge. And so it's such an interesting way to tell the story like this, where we see the perspective shift depending on who's telling the story until we finally learn the truth of what really happened and what it's really like. It is an incredible movie. Very moving. And again, the acting is so good. Ben is so good in this movie as well. Matt Damon, this might be his best performance since Good Will Hunting.
I think it is his best performance, and it flew under the radar. It made no money, and it also didn't get any Golden Globe nominations. So I doubt that Jodie Comer is going to get nominated.
I hope she does.
Likely.
I think the Oscars will get her, man.
But I also think the trailer was great, but the trailer, I think, hid how funny the movie is, especially with Ben Affleck. He is a real highlight in his scenes, and he brings a lot of levity to the movie.
You're right, because in the trailer, he just seems more sinister than anything.
If they had shown his comedic moments in the trailer, I think more people would have been interested in the film. But because it was so dark and grim, the trailer, I think a lot of people were put off by it and not interested in it.
That's a really good point.
I think it should have been marketed more towards showing off Ben Affleck's... Because people were making fun of Ben Affleck with his hair. And I know the photos look silly with him with the blonde hair and with the blonde chin,
the
goatee, but it works for the character.
Yeah.
It totally plays in the scenes. And if people had seen him actually performing in the trailer, I think they would have looked at the movie in a different light.
It's a really great period piece. Really, really well made.
One of my favorites of the year.
Next up, we have The Tragedy of Macbeth. This just came out very recently, starring Denzel Washington and Frances McDormand. Directed by Joel Cohen. This is an adaptation of, obviously, Macbeth, the very old story that has been done many
wicked
times.
old.
Last time I saw a Macbeth movie was the one that
Michael Fassbender
starred, and that was really great, but it's obviously a very different take. And this movie was incredible. It's beautiful. I've never really seen anything like it, at least not in this century, but even going further than that. It's
What
just,
about previous centuries?
well, because it's all shot on a soundstage, you know what I mean?
I meant, like, what about the 1600s? What about the 15th century?
I don't know. I didn't go to the films very often in the 19th century
It's not my favorite century.
for film. But I think what Joel pulled off was something very unique and artistic and really beautiful. And you got to strap yourself in when you go to see this movie because it is Shakespearean dialogue, and you better pay attention as soon as Denzel starts speaking. Get your eyes going and start listening.
Listen, because you won't know what he's talking about if you aren't paying attention.
But if you pay attention, you can get what's going on.
Yeah, it's really sensational. I really loved it. It could be my favorite movie of the year. I have to see it again, but I was really floored by this. Joel Cohen knocked it out of the park. What a stunning, beautiful film. The cinematography is just on another level. The acting, you just have some of the best actors alive. He also brought a great amount of diversity to this cast. There are a lot of people of color in these traditional European roles, so I think they did a great job casting as well. Set design is just phenomenal. Everything about this film I adored, and I couldn't recommend it enough. Next up, we have West Side Story, which is Steven Spielberg's new film, which stars Rachel Zegler and Ansel Elgort, and is a remake of the 1961 classic. Love at first sight strikes when young Tony spots Maria at a high school dance in 1957 New York City. The burgeoning romance helps to fuel the fire between the warring Jets and Sharks, two rival gangs vying for control of the streets. I've been waiting for Spielberg to do a musical for a long time because he never put his talents to that. And he just knocked it out of the park. His camera work, I think he's the best blocker ever, which is how the scenes play out with the movements of the actors. He's the best to ever do it. And he had some really terrific camera angles, the long takes, sensational blocking for the musical numbers, really terrific cinematography. I just think that this was a fantastic musical.
Yeah, really great adaptation and remake, you could say, of the original film. Spielberg is probably, you could argue, the best director of all time. I wouldn't argue against that if you made the right case, because he's made so many incredible movies. This one, I think it just flew under the radar as well. It's hard to tell if whether Spider-Man just took over the box office in general, or just maybe no one else was interested in seeing other movies, because The Last Duel didn't do well, West Side Story didn't do well. There were some other bombs in the last couple of weeks, but West Side Story it made like $20 million on like $100 million budget.
It's at almost $50 million now, but
worldwide.
It was out for a month before Spider-Man. I think the problem was audiences going to theaters, I think this year were very young compared to other years, whereas a lot of older people weren't feeling safe going to theaters.
Okay, that makes sense.
West Side Story is a movie that a lot of older people would see because it's a musical. Musicals were huge for several decades in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. So that's a genre of film that older people still love to this day.
And you could say Spielberg is an older person's director.
Same thing with Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood makes so much money because old people go see his films. But his movie that came out this year, it didn't make any money because older people didn't feel safe going to a theater.
Yeah.
So his movie bombed. Same thing. That's why West Side Story bombed. Young people were going to the cinemas this year, I think.
Good point. Yeah.
But it deserves to be seen. It's one of the best movies of the year.
Next up, we have Nightmare Alley from Guillermo del Toro, starring Bradley Cooper, Rooney Mara, Richard Jenkins, and Toni Collette. This we just saw yesterday. It was such a great film experience. We're going to do a mini review of it as well. One of my favorite of the year. Guillermo del Toro's movies are so incredible. They're so creative. They're just fairy tales, but also nightmares at the same time. They're beautiful. They're scary. They're mysterious. And they're also brutal. And this movie has every element of what you expect to see in a Guillermo del Toro movie.
This is right up there with Pan's Labyrinth and The Shape of Water. It's really excellent. I was surprised because the reviews have been pretty lukewarm for it. It's only at 80% Rotten Tomatoes, and then the audience score was like 65%.
Really? That low?
Yeah, but the IMDb is 7.4, so it's got a good IMDb, but I was like, I was walking into this, I'm like, really, is this kind of questionable? But like 10 minutes into the movie, I'm like, oh, this is great.
Within 3 minutes,
Yeah,
some of the shots I was seeing were so incredible.
He's
and
such a
creative.
great director. He's really at the top of his game right now, like in his prime for sure. He's just done a few great movies back to back to back, and I really love this film. It felt like an old film made in like the 40s and 50s, like an old film noir with this modern contemporary film set. I just think he stunned me. He knocked me out. It knocked me on my ass. The ending was unbelievable. Bradley Cooper was really terrific in this film. It's one of his best performances.
Yeah, and the script is really great. Exceptional writing. I think it's his best script since Pan's Labyrinth.
It is very good script.
It's a great slow burn. You know, it's not like a movie that's too slow and you just want it to end at some point.
It felt like I was reading a novel.
Yeah, that's exactly what. Yeah, you're engrossed in it. He's one of those rare directors that you feel like you're in a different world when you watch his movies, and he just pulls it off with such ease. You know, that's what's so fascinating about him.
And again, this movie, flying under the radar, didn't make that much money, but we recommend it for all you Guillermo fans, for any fans of horror or the macabre. This is right up your nightmare alley.
Wow.
See what I did there? See what I did there? See what I did there?
He's pointing at all the cameras like he just hit a 3-pointer in NBA Finals. Ice in the veins, Anthony.
Kobe.
It's too soon, man.
No, people still do that now.
Too soon.
All right, next up, excuse me, we have the Green Knight. King Arthur's headstrong nephew embarks on a daring quest to confront the Green Knight, a mysterious giant who appears at Camelot, risking his head. He sets off on an epic quest to prove himself before his family and court. This film was directed by David Lowery and stars Dev Patel, Joel Edgerton, and Alicia Vikander.
Yeah, I think Dave Lowery is a very underrated director. I'm a huge fan of his. I really loved Ghost Story. I thought that was a tremendous movie. I think it's just like kind of like a hidden gem that not a lot of people have seen. I highly recommend checking that out. But, you know, he's like Guillermo. He like really creates this tone of you being transported into a different world and a different reality. And, you know, this movie, The Green Knight, was our first big film experience since lockdowns were lifted up.
February or March?
No, it was like in May, I think. It was something like that. It was like spring, early summer. It was the first time we like went to the movies with like a full crowd, and it was a great experience. And you know, this movie's great. It's cinema. You know, the production design is incredible. The story's so fascinating, and it makes you think, and it makes you still think to this day after you see it. We saw it 4 months ago. I'm still thinking about this movie. I'm still thinking about the ending, and I think it's one of those ones that's going to be thought over and analyzed for years and years to come.
It's a terrific adaptation of the poem. He knocked it out of the park, and Dev Patel was awesome. He did a really great job leading this film, and Edgerton's awesome. Alicia Vikander's awesome. The Green Knight is awesome. It was such a great creature design.
Yeah,
I was like, this is super cool. When that famous scene, it's in the trailer when he beheads the knight in front of the entire round table. It's like I was like, the whole scene, I was like, this is amazing. This is so cool. It looks like it's also A24's most expensive film, and a lot of money was put into this.
It was like a $35 million budget.
Yeah, usually their budgets are around $10 million on average. So I think that Lowery did a great job with more funds, and his vision was fantastic.
Next up, we have The Tomorrow War, which was an Amazon original, right?
Yes.
Directed by Chris McKay, starring Chris Pratt, Yvonne Strahovski, and J.K. Simmons. Love this movie. It was so fun. I watched it twice. I think I watched it back-to-back nights.
Yeah, we did it back-to-back.
We were just having so much fun with it. That's why we did it back-to-back. We're like, what are we doing? Let's just watch Tomorrow War again. Screw it. And it was better the second time.
I forgot about that.
You know, it's a great story where people from the future arrive today to tell everyone like we're at war with aliens in the future, and we need people to go into the future with a time machine to help fight because we're losing human beings and we're running out of time and we're running out of people. So it's epic, and Chris Pratt's an awesome lead in this film. It's why he's a great leading man. I think this movie encapsulates everything. He's not his normal like
he's not cracking jokes.
He's not Star-Lord. You know, he's not the dude from Parks and Rec or anything like that. Andy Dwyer. He's just
Burt
like
Macklin, FBI.
It's just so fun. I love the creature design too of the aliens in this movie. It's so good. I can't wait for the sequel.
And this movie, the script isn't perfect. You know, there's the first act. It can be a little jumbled, and
it's corny as hell sometimes.
The dialogue isn't great, but once the movie gets going, it really is just full tilt, like a great action film. That's all I wanted from this movie, was just an awesome action film, and it was more than that. It was hard R. The aliens were fantastic. Some of the best, like you said, creature design. Some of the best creature design I've seen in a long time. They were so terrifying.
By Weta Digital.
They did it. They knocked it out of the park. Like the scenes with these aliens, they're so brutal, and it felt like I was like watching like this insane video game in front of me. It was unbelievable. I was so impressed by it. And
It was fun.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
I swear, there had to be. This might be the most bullets fired in a movie of all time.
could
This
be.
movie, it has to be.
Yeah.
They are unloading magazines and clips
Yeah.
the entire film. It's so sick.
And then the ending is just awesome. It's J.K. and Chris Pratt and an alien in the Arctic. Like, sign me up, man. Let's go.
It's just so fun.
Yeah.
I understand people didn't like it. The script might be slow and cliche, but hey, we had a freaking blast.
Yeah, it was terrific. I think it's time to move into our intermission.
How about we do that? What happened to my voice?
How about we do that?
Let's head into our intermission. That was weird.
What's going on tonight?
I don't know, man. Let's start with our movie quote competition. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
This one's for me. It's actually hilarious.
It's actually hilarious. Wait, I'm doing the impression, but I can't remember what it is. It's actually hilarious. Oh, it's Chris Evans.
He's responding to it. He looks at a text and he goes, "It's actually hilarious."
Oh, what is it? Is it from Scott Pilgrim?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right before it's right when he is about to dial a phone number with a handgun.
the payphone.
Yeah.
It's so good. Okay.
It's actually hilarious.
So this scene takes place at a shooting range, okay?
Okay.
It's no coincidence that the targets are shaped like single people and not couples.
Shaped like single people and not couples. Is it a comedy?
Yes, the dark comedy.
Ugh. Say it again.
It's no coincidence that the targets are shaped like single people and not couples.
And I've seen it.
Yeah, you love it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know what it is.
The Lobster.
Oh man, that is a great movie.
Yeah.
That is a great movie. All right, guess this movie release year. A League of Their Own. Trailer voice coming out.
That was a good trailer voice.
Thanks, man.
Whoa. Kind of sound like Ghostface and like the trailer voice together.
Hello, Sydney.
Hello, Sydney.
You sound like an old man.
Hello, Sydney.
It's an honor to meet you. I hope that movie's
That new
good.
trailer looks whack.
It's gonna be a bad movie.
The
I'm calling
trailer
it.
looks
I'm
whack.
gonna be so disappointed. Anyways, when did League of Their Own come out?
1994.
92.
Damn it.
Pretty close.
Damn it.
Great movie from Penny Marshall. Go
There's
look her
no
up.
crying in baseball. Okay. What year did Dogtooth come out?
Oh man, you showed me Dogtooth. This was when you were like into international.
That was my
film.
foreign film phase.
And you were like in the basement in your movie dungeon, and you showed me it down there. I was like, "What is this movie?" It was like the first really.
you were in college.
It was the first really like trippy, odd movie you ever showed me, and I was like, "This movie's insane." And like, if anyone's ever seen it,
the film dungeon.
Anthony's film dungeon. This Tuesday, Anthony's gonna be in his film dungeon watching Dogtooth by himself with a hot pocket
and a cat.
and two cats. We had two at the time.
Yeah, we had both of them, yeah.
All right. What was the question again? Oh yeah,
Dogtooth.
Dogtooth.
What year?
2006.
2009.
2009. All right. Good one. That movie's a trip. If you like The Lobster, you like that. So same director, obviously. But that was his first big movie, right? Big break.
His first big one. It was Oscar nominated. It was the first Oscar nominated film from Greece, I think, in like decades.
Cool. All right.
Quiz
Movie
time.
pop quiz time. What was Guillermo del Toro's first film?
Kronos.
Nice. Got that.
It's a good movie.
No hesitation. It's actually hilarious.
I love Guillermo. He's great. It's a really cool movie. It's
It
good.
is.
All right. Here's my quiz question. Who won the Oscar for Best Lead Actress playing the Queen in The Favorite?
Oh, what's her name? God damn it.
I knew it would stump
I
you.
always forget her name too, man. She's so good in that movie. Jacqueline, Ashley, Catherine.
12 hours later.
Start with
Jolie.
a G. Can't remember her name.
Olivia Colman.
Olivia Colman. Sorry, Olivia, if you're listening.
She was a huge fan. Now she's unsubscribed.
All right, we got from wow, again, silly
Our Godfather tier patron shout out today is for Lewis Thomas, a friend of the show, been a patron for a very long time, and then upgraded to Godfather tier. We appreciate your support so much, pal. You're one of the best fans we got. Thank you for subscribing.
Thank you so much. Trailer voice for you. Thank you.
Trailer voice.
All right, we got for maybe I should start doing it more often.
It's pretty good.
Let's see let's see the response from people and if they like it or not.
You've never done it that good before.
Thanks, man. I've just
not to be offensive, but like you've usually it's like not that good, but like you're
hey,
killing
it's been good sometimes. It's been getting better.
It's been getting better.
Clearly,
right?
You know how you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice.
Okay. So Joshua McGrain wrote, "You guys are really missing out by not calling the segment where you read your hate mail the Haters of the Lost Podcast."
Oh,
unsubscribed.
Wow,
I think it's a good idea.
That is genius.
The Haters of the Lost Podcast.
All right, who we got for Haters of the Lost Podcast? That's so smart.
Pretty good.
Wow. We should send them like a sticker or something.
Yeah, definitely.
Hit us up a DM. I'll send you a sticker.
And then on the Harry Potter clip you posted where I forgot Victor Crumb's name, 24-hour videos wrote, "And you're supposed to be movie fans? Unsubscribed." And then Pi726 wrote, "Man, these unsubscribed jokes are getting so old. It's not even funny anymore. Unsubscribed." That was a good one.
That's so good. Everyone, dude, people are so creative.
Yeah, our fans are really funny.
Actually, on that same video, a hater wrote, he said Drago, like Ivan Drago, and y'all put a picture of Khal Drogo.
That's who I meant, though.
And I responded with BetterHelp.com/Raiders for 10% off dealing with this trauma.
I ruined his life. You ruined his life. You put the photo up.
I said
you
Game
knew
of Thrones.
I meant him. That's who I meant, though.
Yeah, I know that's who you meant. Yeah.
I did get the name wrong.
It's
but
the Boston accent. You said Drago instead of Drogo.
Okay, and then I have a top comment, my favorite comment this week. So I posted a clip about Drive, the movie with Gosling, and a woman tried to sue the production studio because the trailer was misleading, making it seem like it was a high-octane action movie when it turned out to be a much slower movie than she was anticipating. So she tried to sue the studio, and then Jumbo Jet 86 wrote, "The lady literally didn't watch the scene where the girl's head was turned into red mist in the hotel."
Oh my god,
it's so funny.
Best fans, man. People are funny, man. All right.
Oh man, that was
our
funny.
top review of this episode. It was from Night Cage, best podcast ever. This is easily my favorite podcast of all time. I listen to a few, but not as much as I listen to James and Anthony. They are just so entertaining the way they do the podcast. They use facts and don't go by a script. When speaking, it's just like two people talking about movies. It's really awesome. It's so good that they've even inspired me to start my own podcast sometime in the future as soon as I get the money to do so. These guys are awesome, and I hope they continue to do great things. Wow, that's so awesome to hear, Night Cage.
Good luck with yours.
Yeah, hopefully you start it and get it going, and you will soon be our competitor.
Where you going down?
If you do movies, we're coming after you, Night Cage. On this day in film history, today is January 10th. In 1927, Fritz Lang's silent film Metropolis premieres in Berlin. In 1999, The Sopranos, starring James Gandolfini as mobster Tony Soprano, debuts on HBO.
99?
1999.
Wow.
And in 2011, you deaf.
Why would you say that?
Ian McKellen officially confirms that he will reprise the role of Gandalf in the Hobbit film adaptations, which we should probably cover this year.
Yeah, we get asked that a lot to do The Hobbit.
Let's do the Hobbit this year.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen the third one.
You haven't?
Nah.
It's they're good.
We have HBO Max, so we can watch them
a million times. They're not Lord of the Rings, obviously.
Oh, I know.
Obviously. Have you ever heard of Lord of the Rings?
No, but
I think you'd enjoy it. It's about jewelry.
I love jewelry.
Yeah. It's about a ring bearer at a wedding.
Nice.
Streaming recommendation today for me is Napoleon Dynamite on Amazon Prime. It's just a fun movie to shut your brain off to.
You have great skills. How much you want to bet I could throw this football over the mountains? My streaming recommendation.
The food, Tina.
Tina, eat the food. When we grew up, that was like super quoted.
Oh my god, in high school.
Like 15 years old, everyone quoted Napoleon Dynamite. And then my streaming recommendation is Riders of Justice, which is Mads Mikkelsen's new Danish film. A really terrific revenge, dark comedy thriller. Awesome action, terrific acting. I just was stunned by it. It's such a good movie. Check it out.
And it's finally 2022, meaning it's time to finally get your act together, guys, and get yourself groomed up for the new year. New you, because you probably need it. So I recommend getting the Lawnmower 4.0 groomer from manscaped.com. Use our coupon code Raiders of the Lost at checkout for 20% off and free shipping today from manscaped.com. Manscaped is also launching a bunch of awesome new products for 2022, including their 2-in-1 shampoo conditioner, their body wash, both of which Anthony and I have been using regularly in the showers. Not together. But they have a bunch of new products that we can't talk about yet, but we have to keep hush-hush that we're very excited about. They're basically going to cover everything guys need in their day-to-day life. So definitely get on manscaped.com. Use our coupon code Raiders of the Lost at checkout for 20% off and free shipping worldwide. Maybe get the Performance Package 4.0. I recommend that.
So many great films came out this year. And if you're a movie fan and you love these movies, there's no better thing to do to express your fandom than to get a bunch of movie posters. And the best place to do that is at movieposters.com, the #1 place to get your posters online. Use our special podcast coupon code Raiders10 to get 10% off your order today at movieposters.com. They have all sorts of sizes, framing, backlighting, whatever your poster needs are, they got it covered, as well as a selection of pretty much every film and TV show imaginable. Head on over to movieposters.com and use our promo code Raiders10 to get 10% off your order today.
Now let's get back into the best movies from 2021. Next up, we have Antlers. This was the latest film from Scott Cooper, starring Kerry Russell and Jesse Plemons. A small-town Oregon teacher and her brother, the local sheriff, discover a young student is harboring a dangerous secret that could have frightening consequences. This movie was really terrifying. I enjoyed the hell out of it. It was really scary to see in theaters. I think it was just a little slow at times, but overall, I think the gore was too much sometimes for me, which in a good way. Yeah. Like, I was terrified.
We were jumping.
I squealed a few times. I was squirming in my seat. So if you like those kinds of movies, Antlers is right up your alley.
I agree. If they trimmed off 15 minutes in the first half of the film, it would have been a much tighter film, and it would have been more smooth in terms of its runtime. But all in all, once this movie gets going, it's scary, and the creature design is excellent, something I've never seen before on screen. Kerry Russell did a fantastic job, also the young actor who played the lead. But I was terrified. Like, there's scenes in this movie, and it's hard to scare us, and I was like, whoa, that's crazy.
I scare pretty easily.
You jump a lot, yeah, so it's pretty easy. But there are moments where I was like, holy crap, did that just happen?
It was pretty nuts.
Pretty wild movie. Next up, we have Lamb, which was directed by Vladimir Johansson, stars Rumi Rapace and Bjorn Haraldsson. In rural Iceland, a childless couple discover a strange and unnatural newborn in their sheep barn. They decide to raise this child as their own, but sinister forces are determined to return the creature to the wilderness that birthed her. This was an A24 release, and it is mind-blowing. It's crazy. You've never seen anything like it before.
It's a trip, just like how the trailers and all the posters say. It's about a baby that's born with a lamb head and a human body, and it's wild. It's shockingly funny.
Yeah,
I was cracking up with this movie.
Very funny.
Cinematography is incredible. It's a beautiful, beautiful movie. It's like the first half hour, I was just blown away by the imagery.
Beautiful made.
I think it's a really awesome, great film. And the third act is tremendous, and it really isn't what you expect is going to happen. And I think that they did a great job. This Icelandic director, Vladimir Johansson, and Nomi has a bunch of great other films coming from her region, from her heritage. So I can't wait to see what she's been working on too.
She grew up in Sweden, but she was born in Iceland and lived in Iceland when she was a child. So she had wanted to make an Icelandic movie for a long time, and she never had the chance.
Yeah, it's great. It's a really good slow burn too.
I was stunned by it. It was such a nice surprise, and the entire audience went to see it with, everyone was reacting like, oh my god, it's super fun.
Might be my top 10 of the year too.
Oh, definitely for me.
Next up, we have Tick, Tick, Boom, directed by Lin-Manuel Miranda, starring Andrew Garfield and Vanessa Hudgens, based on the autobiographical, that's a tough word, musical by playwright Jonathan Larson.
I don't read games. My name's James, and I don't read games.
It's the story of an aspiring composer in New York City who is worried he made the wrong career choice whilst navigating the pressures of love and friendship. It's a really emotional, incredible performance from Andrew Garfield. Some of the musical numbers were really incredible. I think one of my favorite ones is Andrew Garfield and Vanessa Hudgens on stage together where they're like singing in front of each other. It's really good.
It was very cute, and she hasn't been in a great film for a long time. She's very talented.
Hater.
Hey, I'm just saying, she's doing like the Hallmark movies as like the princess for the Christmas princess things. But great to see her back in a great film because she's super talented. And Andrew Garfield, one of the most talented actors working today, he actually learned how to sing for this movie. He wasn't like a singer beforehand, and he just knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, he took like a year of just intense training to get his voice ready to sing.
Yeah. Sorry about our voices, by the way. We both have a sore throat.
Anthony gave us both a little tickle. Don't worry, it's not COVID. We're good.
Yeah,
it's just an old school little tickle
we just
cold.
Have a cold. Yeah.
Thanks, Anthony. It's because Anthony just coughs like a madman in the studio while we film. Have you been listening to the last like 3 episodes? Anthony's just always like, it's
like the last 10 episodes. I've been
in the background.
I've been sick for like 2 weeks,
and I'm just sitting there like, oh, I can't wait to get that. This tiny studio.
Sorry, bro.
It's okay.
There's basically no chance to not get sick.
It's all good. I feel totally fine besides that. Just a little.
All you do is complain about it.
Let's move on. Let's move on to the next film, Anthony.
Next up, we have Riders of Justice, which was actually my streaming recommendation. This stars Mads Mikkelsen, Andrea Geidenberg, and Nikolai Koss, and this was directed by Anders Thomas Jensen. Marcus returns home to care for his daughter when his wife dies in a tragic train accident. However, when a survivor of the wreck surfaces and claims foul play, Marcus suspects that his wife was murdered and embarks on a mission to find those responsible. I watched this last week. It was really terrific. Great mystery, great intrigue. A lot of dark comedy, very, very funny, but the action is terrific. It's Mads Mikkelsen as like this special ops guy taking out bad guys. There's like 3 great shootout scenes. It's just fantastic. I was blown away by it.
Yeah, bro, I haven't seen it, so I'll take your word for it. But
you gotta check it out.
I'm gonna watch this tonight.
You gotta check it out.
Sounds really cool.
It's sick. Like he murks dudes like crazy.
I love Mads. He's the man.
Yeah, it's an excellent performance by him. It's one of his best, and it's very emotional. Very heartfelt. I think all around it's just firing on all cylinders.
What country is it from? Is it Danish?
Danish, yeah.
Nice, cool. All right. Next up, we have Malcolm and Marie. Wow, I forgot that movie came out in 2021.
Yeah.
This was directed by Sam Levinson, starring Zendaya and John David Washington. Just 2 characters the entire time. I really enjoyed this movie. I think the script was great. The acting was terrific. You know, John David Washington coming off Tenet. This was a really strong performance, and I think it was a really great movie for him to do outside of doing I just did the biggest action movie of all time. Leading that, let's do something small in scale with just 2 characters. I really like that choice for him. Then Zendaya, I had never seen her. I've never seen
her act before.
In in the Disney channels. Well, she's
I never watched her show.
But what was Euphoria? I've never seen Euphoria, so I'd never really actually like you. I'd never seen her in too much stuff. But then watching this, I was blown away by Zendaya, and she's tremendous in this movie. Super talented. Yeah. So both of them going back and forth, and it's a very relatable film. If you've obviously been in relationships that are on the rocks, and you're maybe the relationship's about to end, you're trying to repair it and fix it, and then you start going through everything in the past of the relationship that's caused problems, and you just start bringing things up over and over again. You have a really big blowout. That's basically what the movie is, and I really loved it.
I'm sorry, I saw Zendaya in the first 2 Spider-Man movies. Before this one. Okay. Those were the first things I was exposed to.
But she's small roles in those.
Yeah, but she has so much great dialogue, and she chews it up in this film. And it got poorly received by critics because the director bashed critics for an hour and a half because John David Washington plays a director of films, and he complains about critics like for 30 minutes, and it was really funny, but obviously critics aren't going to take kindly to that kind of dialogue.
I like Sam Levinson's style.
Yeah,
he's like, I don't give a fuck.
5 minutes into the movie, I'm like, oh, this is what this movie's about. Very cool. So that's why it got poor reviews, but it is really terrific. An awesome script. Really great performances from both these actors. You should definitely check it out. It's on Netflix.
Yeah, great cinematography, black and white film. It looks awesome. Really,
not film, digital.
Well, I meant like the film's black and white.
Gotcha.
Sorry. Not shot on film. But yeah, it looks really great. Next up, we have Luca, which was the latest film from Pixar, directed by Enrico Casarosa, starring Jacob Tremblay and Jack Dylan Grazer. This is a really, really cute, fun Pixar movie. You know, it hits all the beats that Pixar always does. I think the animation was terrific. I was blown away by some of the shots.
Very
and some
realistic.
Of the animation, especially the water washing to shore, just the water scenes in general, the mermaid scenes. They did a tremendous job, and it was very colorful. It was very fun. It's a really great story. I think it's really funny too. Luke is funny, and the other boy's funny as well. But what's the girl's name? Oh, I forget.
I can't remember.
Someone with a G. Hold on.
But the cinematography is really great. Like they're really advancing the camera work in these films, where it looks like they're using actual lenses and cameras are actually moving on like a dolly track. Julia
is so funny.
But this movie is just really terrific, a great family film, and it was it's nice to see Pixar bringing like that magical quality of older Disney films into their movies now.
Yeah, good point.
Magic.
Yeah, usually obviously there are magical elements to all of their movies, with the Up and the floating balloons and WALL-E and Future and everything like that, but still in toys coming to life. So there's some hints at magic, but I know what you mean in terms of like more magic.
Thanks for understanding. Appreciate you. Next up, we have Pig, living alone.
What'd you call me?
You're a pig. No, you look great, man.
Thanks.
Living alone in the Oregon wilderness, there are a lot of Oregon movies this year. A truffle hunter returns to Portland to find the person who stole his beloved truffle pig. This was directed by Michael Sarnoscu and stars Nicolas Cage and Alex Wolff. And this was just a really weird, bizarre, awesome, dramatic film. Really interesting character by Nick Cage. Alex Wolff is really funny. He basically plays like Salt Bae. His look is Salt Bae in this film. And I think it was a really interesting film.
I love this movie. I love the choices that Nick Cage makes when he's not doing the movies he needs just to make ends meet, because he's, costs a lot of money having insurance on a castle and stuff like that, I'm sure, and helicopters.
Every time we bring up Nick Cage, you talk about his castle.
He has a castle. It's crazy. It's a lot of upkeep, man. Can you imagine the electric bill in that place? He's not using torches.
The heat bill must be crazy.
So I love when he makes odd choices like this movie. And I know a lot of people, they describe it as like a John Wick-esque film and world, but it's not really like that at all. But it's a touching story. It's really cool. Never seen anything like it. I had a blast watching it. Also, I love watching cooking shows too, so there's a lot of cooking in this film as well. And I think
the bread looked good too.
Yeah, the bread and the what's he making, like the Danish he makes in the early on.
Yeah, with the chicken in that chicken.
He does some good cooking in this film. And Alex Wolff, this is the first thing I've seen him in since Hereditary, I think. So it was awesome to see him in this. And I really enjoyed this movie. It was a really good time.
Yeah, agreed.
Next up, we have Last Night in Soho, the latest film from Edgar Wright, starring Thomasin McKenzie, Anya Taylor-Joy, and Matt Smith. And I like this movie a lot. Edgar Wright's been playing with a lot of different genres. He starts off with like comedy, horror, Shaun of the Dead, then like action comedy with a little bit of horror. But a lot of his movies have horror elements, and I think Last Night in Soho is his largest leap into the horror genre, very psychological horror-esque.
It's the first one that's not a comedy. It's funny. It has funny elements, but I would not call this a comedy at all. So I think it was his biggest step out into a different genre, because Baby Driver is very funny. Whereas this film, it's just like a horror thriller, and he just did an excellent job. The aesthetic, the cinematography was great. It's his most visually stunning film. He used Park Chan-wook's cinematographer for this film, so that's why it looks different from a typical Edgar Wright film. And he did the thrills, the scares, really unique take on ghost stories, and I just think the actors were sensational. Awesome seeing Matt Smith, but these two young actresses are a couple of the best working right now, so they just knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, tons of great cinematography, tons of great angles where you're getting two actresses on screen at the same time, where one's in the shop and one's a reflection, and sometimes it's just green screen with her there. So it's really creative filmmaking from Edgar Wright.
Yeah, super fun movie.
As he is in every film, he's very creative.
Next up, we have Malignant. Paralyzed by fear from shocking visions, a woman's torment worsens as she discovers her waking dreams are terrifying realities. This was directed by James Wan and stars Annabelle Wallis and McKenna Grace, and this movie is crazy.
Yeah, man. I like this movie a lot because it's very campy. It's a lot of fun, and the third act is wild. It's insane. However, the first 30 minutes of this movie is like watching paint dry.
It's horrible acting.
The first 2 minutes I love. It's very like old school horror, but then like it just gets really bad. Like the dialogue is so bad sometimes. The characters are bad.
James Wan makes you suffer before the movie gets going.
But once it gets going, guys, I'm telling you, this movie is sick. Like the last half of the movie is wild.
Yeah, you never see anything like it. You never seen a movie monster like this. Really terrific concept, really original, unique monster creation. He just made a terrific creature, and there's definitely going to be more to come.
Yeah, we were in theaters. I almost went to Anthony. I'm like, should we leave? Like 20 minutes in, I'm like, this movie's not it, bro.
And the cast is just not there, but
it's pretty cool. I'm glad we saw it in theaters. It was a blast.
I'm glad we finished it. Next up, we have Drive My Car, which is a new Japanese film. An aging widowed actor seeks a chauffeur. The actor turns to his go-to mechanic, who ends up recommending a 20-year-old girl, and despite their initial misgivings, a very special relationship develops between the two. This was directed by, forgive me, I'm going to pronounce these all incorrectly, Ryusuke Hamaguchi, and stars Reika Kirishima and Hidetoshi Nishijima. This is a really terrific kind of a coming-of-age film about two people who have nothing in common and shouldn't really get along, but they end up developing a really terrific connection. Great character study, terrific performances, a very minimalist film, and one of the best foreign films so far this year.
Next up, we have Encanto, directed by Brian Howard and Jared Bush, starring Stephanie Beatriz and Jessica Darrow. This is a CGI film from Walt Disney Animation Studios, distributed Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures. So, what's this a
It's
Pixar?
not Pixar.
Yeah, it's not Pixar,
It's just
right?
Disney.
It's just Disney, even though they own Pixar.
It looks and feels like Pixar.
Yeah, so obviously that's the new style that
They
they're
probably
all
just
going.
put the same Pixar team
This
on
is
it.
a really great film. It's like Luca. I think they hit all the beats. They do all the right things. The animation, it's unique and new and different. I like the lead characters. I think they're a lot of fun.
Nice. It's cool to be set in Colombia.
Yeah, and
Mixing
the
things up.
Madrigals, they're a really fun family hidden in those mountains in Colombia. And it's a really good, feel-good film. Again, like Luca, hits all the beats. Excellent animation. Just knocks it out of the park every time.
Yeah,
they can't miss.
Super fun kids film. Next up, we have Ghostbusters Afterlife, directed by Jason Reitman, starring McKenna Grace, who was also a Malignant, Finn Wolfhard, and Paul Rudd, as well as Carrie Coon. This film was a lot of fun. It's about not just a reboot, but kind of like a sequel to the original two Ghostbusters. It felt super loyal to the lore. It's the first movie that felt like a Ghostbusters film in a long time. I think that Jason Reitman was the perfect person for the job. Obviously, his dad made the original too. And this was just a super fun ride. Great cast, awesome CGI, good thrills, good horror, and just a flat out good time in the theater.
Yeah, we obviously saw this in IMAX and had a blast. It was a super fun time in Hollywood. It was great theater.
Great time in the films.
Great time in the films. And I loved it. I loved every minute of it. I had a really, really fun time watching this. I love the new CGI effects for the guns and everything and all the tech and, paying homage to the old films while, starting up a new franchise, hopefully. And Paul Rudd's super funny in this movie. Finn Wolfhard's great. McKenna Grace is exceptional. This movie is a blast. And, I honestly can't wait for the next one because it really was just a really good time at the films.
Agreed.
Last one, I swear. Last one.
Next up we have Titan, which was the Palme d'Or winner this year, and stars Agatha Rossetti and Vincent Lindon, directed by Julia Ducournau.
This movie is really great. It's about a woman who, after being injured in a car accident as a child, has a titanium plate fitted into her head. And, it's the character goes through a lot of transformations besides that throughout the course of her life and throughout the course of the film. It's a really, at times disturbing, but at times profound and erotic, but also and emotional at the same time. It's a really interesting movie. I've never seen anything like it. I really like the cinematography. I like the production design a lot, the color schemes, everything going on. It's really, really cool movie.
Yeah, it's a crazy, bizarre ride, and you've never seen anything like it before.
And this was the first film that Agatha Roussel was ever in, I believe. So she did a phenomenal job leading this film as a first-time actor.
Wow, great job. Next on our list, Benedetta, which was directed by Paul Verhoeven and stars Virginie Efira and Charlotte Rampling, who was just in Dune. A 17th century nun becomes entangled in a forbidden lesbian affair, but it's her shocking religious visions that threaten the stake of the church to its very core. This is actually based on a true story of a real nun in a real church who was claiming to have visions of Jesus. And this film is wild. It's very crazy, beautiful, well-made, incredibly acted, just bizarre. Like Titan is very erotic as well. It's like a sexual thriller, mystery. And also what's really cool is the way that Verhoeven paints the picture is even by the end of the film, you don't know whether the visions are true or not, whether she does have these abilities or not. And it's very much left in the air, and it's up to the audience to decide. And it's just a really sensational, shocking film.
The final film on our list for best movies of 2021 is another outing from Marvel in the MCU, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which was a lot of fun, really great film, great special effects, new entry of an Avenger to the Avengers in the MCU, so it was a lot of fun. I think that the martial arts aspect of this film was the biggest strength of it. I wish there was more of it in the third act. We did a review on Shang-Chi, so definitely check that out if you haven't seen it yet. We had a good time watching this movie, and it's top 15 probably for Marvel.
Yeah, again, Marvel formula works for a reason. It's a really good time in the theaters. Great to see Simu Liu. He looks like a great addition to Marvel's universe, and can't just wait to see him in the future, as well as the other characters as well.
And thanks so much for tuning in to our best movies from 2021.
Let's applaud the year.
Yeah, great year, everybody. Great bounce back from 2020. Sorry if some of the movies that you all love weren't on this list. Let us know that you think what we were missing out on in the YouTube comments or Instagram. But we really hope that if you haven't seen all these movies, that you put them on your watch list, especially like the first 10 that we talked about, because those were our for sure our favorites of the year. But it was a great bounce back. I was honestly impressed with this year for everything that happened in 2019. So it gives me so much more hope and optimism for 2022. I think that we're just going to blow the box office up with the movies coming out this year. It's going to be an epic year, I think.
It's stacked. Very stacked.
It's absolutely stacked.
Yeah.
So thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Become a patron today at patreon.com/RaidersOfTheLostPodcast.com.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks so much for tuning in to Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Be sure to subscribe if you're new. Hit the like button, leave a comment. Find us on all audio streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find us. Find us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Be sure to check out one of these other videos right here for more content on our favorite films and breaking down all kinds of movie content. Thanks so much.